Hey guys, hopefully this is better. We're just going straight to the app. I'll just flip the screen and we'll go for a little wander. If you've got any questions, just drop them in the comments below. Yeah, hopefully this is better quality now. Alrighty, so here we are. This is South America over this side. And we'll just go for a wander through the cactus reef. I'm sure this is a lot better now because there's less wind as well. Just drop in the comments below where you're tuning in from. We'd love to know where people are tuning in from today. So this is what we call grafting, which is where we take a plant. The plant that's on the bottom is the host, so we chop the top off it, and then we chop the bottom off the plant that's going to go on top, and we graft them together. And if you do it right, they'll grow together like this one has. And I guess what's special about this is a big Echinopsis crest, and when we graft it onto something like the Trichocereus that's underneath it, we get really quick growth. So now we've got this beautiful big Echinopsis crest. It's gorgeous. And just to give you an example, this is one that's just growing on its own roots. And they would have been planted here at a similar time, at a similar size. And you can just see the difference there. Alrighty, drop some questions below. So this is our cactus reef. This is Euphorbia amac, which is a really popular euphorbia with a nice yellow colour to it. The beauty of growing euphorbias is they can handle a little bit lower light usually. So in here during the summer we put a shade house roof on, and then in the winter we cover it all in with plastic again. Some of these plants aren't frost hardy, so they do need the protection from the cold winters and the frosts. But as you can see, as we walk around, you can just see how well they'll grow in the right conditions, and the colours are much more vibrant in here than what they would be if you grew them outdoors, because the sun will bleach the colour out of things a little bit, and especially here where we get really harsh hot summers. So this is a Echinocereus, and this is a hybrid version of what most people would know as a golden ball. So this is a white-spined Echinocereus, and then just above it you've got a golden ball, so a golden echino. So that's, I believe it's Echinocereus grassonii. Maybe someone will correct me in the comments if I've got that wrong. I'm just wondering, is anyone... Yeah, here we go. Lachlan Murrell's watching. Hey Loch, how are you, mate? Long time no see. Lachlan's got some of the best coffee in Melbourne. I bet he can't wait to open up again. So you can just see how healthy this Euphorbia trigona, the red devil, and you can see there where you've got some that are really purple, and then you've got some that are really green. And so the beauty of what you can do with cacti and succulents is, if you actually want to grow a plant that's predominantly purple, you can take that cutting, and when you grow that on, typically they'll keep that colour. And it's the same with variegates. So this is a variegated Spacianus, and so Dad would have found this on a plant where they normally just grow green, and he would have taken this cutting and grown it separately, and it's kept that yellow colour in the plant. If you've got any questions as we go, just drop them in the comments below. Here's a beautiful variegated Cereus peruvianus. Absolutely gorgeous. Now I've got one in here, a couple in here actually, that are really popular. Get a lot of inquiries for blue plants. We've got some bigger ones on the other side, but just to give you an idea. Pilocereus. And this is I think it's a variegated ivory curl. Some really choice plants in here. Hi Phoebe, how are you? Yes, we sell cuttings. I've been doing quite a few cuttings, especially while we've been shut down. So been shipping a few orders out. I think once we open up it will be a little bit trickier. So we open on Monday. We're very excited to be opening up again. And we do tours as well, so on Saturday nights, and we haven't announced an opening date for that event yet, but we do what we call a night tour, and if you buy tickets online you can come and have a burrito bar, which is where you get to make your own burrito, and go for a little wander through the garden with Julie or I. Some of the oldest plants in our garden would be probably 50, maybe 60 years old now, but they've done the majority of their growing in our garden. So a lot of these plants would have been small in pots when we started it. And so everything that you see, you're talking about 32 years of growth. Especially this is the oldest part of the garden, so out here we've got some of our oldest plants. I'll give you a bit of feedback. We had a couple of girls book in to come and buy some plants, and they had a little look in the garden and they just couldn't believe how big it was. So make sure if you're planning a trip to Cactus Country, make sure you plan plenty of time to really soak in the garden. There's 8 trails and the garden's broken up into areas of origin. So as you walk around you can actually see where these plants come from. So South America, this is North America and Mexico now. And we might just go for a little wander up into South America next. Hi Natawat. I would take so many pics. Yeah. It's a photographer's heaven out here, that's for sure. Hi Phoebe, we don't actually have plants for sale on our website, but you can certainly send me some photos of things that you like the look of, and if I've got them available I can organise something for you. Oh wow, thanks for tuning in from Thailand. Yeah, drop in the comments where you're from. If you've tuned in, tell us where you're from. If you grow any cacti at home, let us know what cacti you're growing. This is big agave salmiana. Thanks for tuning in, Teresa. Where in Australia are you from? So agave salmiana is a species of the agave, and as you can see, they get very big. This is probably around 2.5 meters tall and probably a similar width. And when they flower, they shoot up these huge stalks. And so I'll show you around at some of the stalks that are currently flowering. And when they flower, the main mother plant dies. It puts so much of its energy into the mother plant that it kills the cactus. And when that happens, the carbohydrate structure of the center of the plant, or the heart of the plant, the carbohydrates change. And so typically, if you're going to harvest an agave like agave tequiliana for tequila, you would harvest it after it has started to flower. And when this spike shoots up above the canopy, you would chop it off, and the energy that it would normally push into growing these huge flower stalks would swell the base of the plant, and it's that heart in the middle that you'd be harvesting. And when you go to tequila in Mexico, you can actually go on a tour and they'll show you the whole process. It's really interesting. These gorgeous big flower stalks, they get around, well, this one here would be probably 5 to 6 meters tall, and the birds love them. Yes, I do have some saguaros. I'll show you in a minute. Hi Marlene, how are you? Hi from Southern California. Wow, thanks so much for tuning in. ¿Cuántos años tiene? I think that's how old are they? Some of the oldest plants in our garden would be around 60 years old, but they've done the majority of their growing here in our garden. So a lot of them just started as small, and they've done the majority of their growing in about 32 years. Will be 32 years since we opened in October. Now over the back there, that's the tallest saguaro we have. We'll go check that out a little bit later. Do we get the cochineal bugs on the prickly pear here in Australia like they do in South America? I don't think we do. I think from memory, and I could be wrong, Julie, but the cochineal bugs are the ones that they make a colouring, like a food colouring or a dye of some type from. They're really interesting. I don't think that we get them in Australia. If anybody knows the answer, drop it in the comments below. I'd be really interested to hear. Thanks for tuning in, Margaret. Muchas gracias, Glacy. I actually spent a little bit of time in Mexico a few years ago. Studied Spanish in Tulum, and then travelled around Mexico, stayed for a few months in Guadalajara. So if anyone's tuning in from Mexico, say hi. My Spanish is really bad. I shouldn't have said that I speak a little Spanish. I definitely don't. Yes, they make the red colouring. Yeah, that's right. So these are our San Pedro, and this is a big, beautiful bush of San Pedro, and one of our most popular Facebook posts to date, and it's got millions of views, is when this was in full flower, and we did a walk around it, and it was just packed with flowers. So have a look back through the feed later on if you'd like to see what that looks like. So out here, we're now in South America. So these plants, some of them will look a little bit like what you've seen in the movies, like the saguaros, but these are not saguaros. These are a Trichocereus. And a lot of these tall ones are a Trichocereus tushekii. And you can see here we've got some, I always get the name of this wrong, Serencia. I'm pretty sure I've got it right this time. And Serencia are a beautiful plant, and they get really quite big, but the problem is they get really top heavy, and when that happens they typically fall over like this one has. And so a part of our program here in growing hybrid seeds and cross-pollinating flowers in the flowering season is to try and grow plants like this that have this has like a gorgeous red flower. And so we're trying to get coloured flowers into some of our taller plants. So like these big Trichocereus tashekii. We're trying to get a coloured flower to grow on something tall like that because they typically only have white flowers. And what we're trying to do with the Serencia, I hope I've got that name right, someone will tell me, is we're trying to get more structure into the body of the plant so that they won't fall over. Hi Mary, that's a really good point. We are in northern Victoria, so we are about 3 hours north of Melbourne. If you just drew a line straight north from the centre of the heart of Melbourne, and where that hits the Murray River, you would be very, very close to bumping into our cactus garden. So as the crow flies, that's where we're located. We are probably around an 8-hour drive from Sydney going south, and then, you know, once you got to the Murray River, you would follow the Murray towards Echuca. And we are situated between Echuca and Yarrawonga, or if you know Albury-Wodonga better, we're about an hour and a half from Albury-Wodonga going towards Echuca and Swan Hill and Mildura. Oh, hi from Chile. Thank you, Mary. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, yeah, so a few people have been really interested in how old some of these plants are. So I guess a good point to make about that is just we've got really good growing conditions here. So we get really hot summers and we get cold winters. And in the summer, if we get water onto this part of the garden, some of these plants are incredible growers, and we can sometimes get up to 1 metre of growth out of these guys in the summer. And over here you can see a flower that's finished up. It's closed for the day, and it's a little bit rare for these to flower at this time of year. Hey Brad Drysdale, thanks for tuning in again, mate. So we've still got quite a bit of seed out here on these trichos. And so what we do in terms of cross-pollinating is we collect the pollen when a flower opens. We collect it in a jar and we label what plant it's come from. And then when another plant flowers that we want to cross that pollen into, we actually cross it in the morning before the bees get to it. And that means we know what has crossed into that plant. We label that plant with mum and dad so that we know who the parents of that seed pod will be once the flower dies and produces seed pods. They don't always set seed, so some varieties of cacti don't cross as well with others. We might even just go over and have a look at this cactus fruit, and I'll try and show you. This is a delicious variety of Cereus peruvianus fruit. You can see there's a few different plants here with different coloured fruits and different sized fruits. So I'll show you what they look like first of all. So you can just pick them off like an apple. So there's a Cereus peruvianus fruit. And then it's a little bit like an orange. And I'll see if I can set this up and show you. Alrighty, we'll see if this works. Here we go. Got the idea. Alrighty. Hey Brad, thanks for that, mate. That's really nice of you. Yeah, Dad really cares about growing great hybrids. I might just turn us so that the light is a little bit easier. Just found a chair in the garden, so this should work. And as you can see, I've got a COVID haircut. That's what it looks like. Alrighty, so here's the fruit. And so essentially you can just get in there by peeling the skin off, and inside you get this really beautiful white flesh with the crunchy seeds, and from that just take a bite. It's really hard to describe what the flavor's like. I try to tell people it's almost got what tastes like a florally taste. It's got the crunch and the texture, a little bit of kiwi fruit, I guess. Yeah, it looks like dragon fruit, but and I haven't had enough dragon fruit to really know, but I think from memory it's a little bit sweeter than dragon fruit. It's delicious. So we make a few products with the fruit that we grow here in the garden. So with the prickly pear and the cereus fruit, we make cactus ice cream and cactus cake. And with the Apuntia Burbank spineless pads, we make cactus cake, and it's really good. Alrighty, we'll continue on. So you can see here a different sized fruit, and then another one over here. And I mean, these are just three that are close together, but we've got hundreds of these plants, all with varying sized fruits and different flavors. This is actually a really gorgeous view from here. You get a really good overlook of the garden. And up on the hill there, Dad's got the dome that he's been building. And this is a really nice valley that when you walk through the path down there, you look up and see these huge 6-7 meter tall plants. And you feel like you're not in Australia anymore. This really feels like you're in another world. Marlene's just asked, at what age do these cacti fruit? It does vary, so I guess most of them would probably fruit at around 10 years old, but having said that, depending on your growing conditions, it may vary quite significantly. If you kept them in a pot and they were root bound and they couldn't grow as quickly, it may take longer. You would really want to be planting them out in the hottest part of your garden, and you would want to have 4 seasons, and you would want to make sure that they get pollinated when they flower to get fruit. So there would be a few conditions that would need to all align to really get the fruit on them. And I'm not sure 100% about this next part that I'm thinking. Maybe there is also an advantage in having more than one of these plants here, in that maybe it's the pollen from another plant that also pollinates it and allows it to fruit. I could be wrong about that, but I have heard a lot of people who have these plants in Melbourne, for example, and they don't get fruit even though the plants are just as tall and mature as these ones. Thanks, Natasha, and thanks for tuning in. Hi Xing, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, it is a little bit like a pawpaw, I guess. Now we are reopening on the 1st, on this Monday. We'll be reopening. If you could just book tickets online, that'd be great, just so that we've got an idea of how many people are coming and what procedures that we might need to put in place if there's a few more than we might be expecting. Wow, I can't believe how many people have tuned in. This is incredible. Thank you so much for everyone who's tuned in to say hello. And we might just climb this hill here and I'll give you a bit of an overview of the garden just to give you an idea how big it is. We've got around 10 to 12 acres. I think that's around 4 to 4.4 hectares. And yeah, you know, Dad was really ahead of his times in building this garden. Back in 1986 when he bought this property, it was a fruit orchard. And actually, if we go up here on the hill, I'll hike up here, 2 seconds. Alrighty, some nice big views from up here. So when Mum and Dad purchased this property back in 1986, this was a peach orchard and no cacti here whatsoever. And Dad had grown up as a boy. He'd actually picked fruit on this orchard, so he knew the soil type here. And if I actually pan around and show you the sand pit we've got here, you can see how sandy the soil is. So the Murray River used to run through this property. About 8,000 years ago there was an ice age, and when the water froze and re-ran, it changed direction. And so that part of the garden is on a heavier soil. It's a little bit more clay based, and that would have been where the bank is. And I imagine that this would have been a river beach here. And actually here's Dad's off in the background. He's digging holes and still planting out plants. So at 66 or 67, he's still out working the garden. This is absolutely his dream, to build one of the biggest cactus tourist attractions in the world. And I think he's already pretty well achieved it personally, but he wants to build it bigger and bigger and bigger. So we are expanding at the moment. This is Africa. So the plants that you see now are from Africa. And then we've got quite a bit of farmland. So altogether we have around 150 acres. And this is where we're expanding into next. So out here we'll have another 8 acres going in. And this time of year is beautiful, like lots of green grass on all the farms. We've had quite a bit of rain. It's starting to really come along. Alrighty, we'll continue on. Someone asked earlier about our saguaro, so I'll show you our saguaro. Do you use any trees, non-cacti as shade for plants? Yes, we do. There's a section of the garden where we're growing epiphyllums, and they're a plant that would normally grow up in trees in the, I think in the rainforest. I saw them on a trek to Machu Picchu. They were growing with bromeliads, and they're growing at quite high climates, as high altitudes as well. But they do typically grow in shadier areas. They don't like full sun. And so for that reason, We grow them under those big trees over there. And we've set up a shade house even further shading them. And they're typically a night flower, so they're one that we think will be the star of the show when we continue to run our night tours. So this is Pachycereus pringlei, and you can see it's got a really skinny base and a really heavy and fat top. So it'll be interesting to see if this one stays upright or whether it falls over at some point. But there's another one over here, and it's started to grow some arms, and it's gorgeous. These are some pharaohs on the way over there. Mandy, curious about what's growing in the greenhouse? I'll show you. We'll go have a look in now. That's the greenhouse over the back here. Are plants from Africa predominantly, so we'll go have a look at that in a sec. Here's some really big mounds of mammillaria. And I think this is Agave parii truncata. I could be wrong on the name of that one. Do we have a Yucca brevifolia? Gee, I'm not really sure. You'd have to show me a photo of that one for me to... I recognise the name. I know they're a very popular yucca, but I'm not sure if I'm close to one. So this is Pachycereus pringlei with these gorgeous big arms. This is probably around 6 meters tall. Really tall plant. And then our saguaros around on this side. Here's some flowering mams as well. They grow these beautiful pink flowers, this variety. Most of the mams do have pink flowers. We'll make our way around to Africa. For everyone who's tuned in, I just want to say thank you so much. I don't know if this number is even correct, like, I don't know how it can be. 295 people are tuned in right now. It just blows my mind. So this is our saguaro, or Carnegie gigantea. And we're not sure if this pinch in the side of it is where it's going to grow its first arm. But it's quite woody there, so we'll see what happens. Huge plant. Can see why these are so popular. Wow, over 300 people. That's amazing. Does anyone have any more questions? I'm just going to make my way around to Africa. Hi Mimi. The oldest plants in our garden would be around 50, 60 years old, but they've done the majority of their growing here. So the collection was planted in 1986. We opened in 1988. And so since we've opened, it's been around 32 years. A lot of the plants that we planted were small in pots when we started them off. We planted them directly into the soil and they've really taken off. So even though we've got some quite tall plants here, they've done the majority of that growing in 30 to 34 years. All right, here's some Euphorbia. So we've got a couple of Euphorbia hybrids in the front here. These beautiful red tops. Hey Jasper, you just missed it, mate. Sorry. This is a Euphorbia amac, and it's probably around 6 meters tall. It's got a real lean going on. We're about to replace this roof in here. We had a big storm that ripped the roof off this hothouse, so we're planning to pull these hoops down and put our 10-meter span roof on this. If anyone's got a crane locally that they'd like to lend us, that'd be great. It's going to be a big job, I think. So we'll continue coming around. A lot of people comment on this one as well. I think this was on a feature with David Attenborough, showing the monkeys eating the leaves off this plant. So monkeys will come and pick the leaves off. So you can see it's quite leafy, but then underneath it's got these really strong spines. And this plant is now around 3 meters tall. Won't be long before it'll be pushed up against the roof as well. The garden started in 1986 and opened in 1988. So in October it'll be 32 years since we opened. You can see a bird up on the wire up here as well. Gorgeous. It's one of my favourite parts of the garden in here, and I'll show you this elephant's foot. Got some gorgeous aloes on the way. A few different aloes here. This is a elephant's foot. You can see the base of it, and it swells and contracts, which leaves these beautiful patterns. And it's a really woody base, and then the vine grows out of the top, and it seasonally shoots this huge vine, and then when that dies off you cut it all back, and so you end up with a lot of these woody parts at the bottom here as well. And then next to it we've got the crown of thorns, or Euphorbia millii I think it's called, and it's quite spiky as well. Sorry, Gaia. We don't really water a lot of the garden. This part here we do, because when it's covered in plastic it won't get any rain on it. But typically the majority of our garden handles all conditions. So cacti are really drought hardy, and especially our mature plants, they can store water that can last them years. So one big storm where they can collect and store water in their body will allow them to survive very long droughts. Because we are a public garden, we do water on the odd occasion, because if it's really dry, they will get quite skinny and shrink into themselves quite a lot, and they just don't look as attractive. And so we do water on the odd occasion just for that reason. Hey Carolina, thanks for tuning in. This is a Euphorbia cow's horn, or Euphorbia grandicornis, and it's a really popular one, and you can see just how much it branches, and it's got this beautiful contrast between the light green skin and the almost white spines. And obviously at this time of year when it's flowering, it is a real showstopper. This is a huge plant now. This plant would be easily 4 to 5 meters wide. We've had a little bit of rot in the middle of it, so it's fallen out, which is what it would probably typically do in the wild, and this is probably how it would spread and survive. What's the tallest you've seen crown of thorns? The tallest ones that we have are in here. This is a bit precarious. We've got this big Euphorbia amac growing over the top. So this is what's directly above me. But in here I'd say these are the biggest crown of thorns that we've got. So you've got the pink or pinky red, and then you've got another form which is tends to have a thicker body and bigger flowers and bigger leaves. So the tallest one I've seen, if these are the tallest I've seen, I'd say they get around 50, 60, maybe 70 centimeters tall at the tallest part. And while we're here, maybe I'll just show you this as well. So if you want to grow cacti from cuttings, a lot of them you can just take cuttings of and dry them on a drying rack. Here's, for example, a Euphorbia cow's horn, and if you grab them between the spines, you can pick them up. And once the bottom has calloused, if I lay this back down, once the bottom goes woody like this, then you can plant that in the ground and the roots will grow back out from where you've cut it. Hi Bronwyn, yes, we are officially reopening on the 1st of June, so Monday, not too far away. There's another gorgeous plant here, and I forget the name of this one, I'm really sorry. This one's not one that I've memorized yet. It's number 10 in the purple trail, so you can look it up on the website. We've got our guidebook online, so you can actually go through and find different plants as you walk around the garden. So for example, if you were out here, you'd look up purple trail, go to number 10, and it would give you the name and a little bit of information about it. And what I love about this is these beautiful big leaves that it grows. And then when it goes into its dormancy, all of these leaves and these little berries fall off, and you just end up with this naked trunk, and it's just stunning in both seasons. It's an incredible plant. And now we've got a flowering. Now this is an aloe. I think it's Discoria, I think is how you pronounce it. I could have that pronunciation wrong. But the gorgeous yellow flowers coming out of what's already a very architectural plant. Oh, you can't hear me speaking. Is that better? Can you hear me now? I think I must have accidentally knocked the microphone. Wow, over 400 people. This is insane. Alright, we'll continue out into Africa, and I'll show you the plants from Africa that actually handle the cold winters here. Ah, great, thanks Carly. Yeah, the yellow flowers are gorgeous. Actually, I wonder if you can see them closer from this side. Yeah, there we go. That'll better look at the flowers there. And we've actually got some honey-eater birds that love to come in here and feast on these when they're open. Thanks, Mandy. Thanks. Awesome. Thanks, Bronwyn. Cheers, Jason. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Any questions as we go along, just drop them in the comments and I'll try my best to answer them. So my dad, Jim, he's the one who started this garden, and he's really what you would consider to be a cactus expert. From the age of 5, he started growing cactus seedlings at home. His dad was a gardener and a collector of all plants, and Dad just fell in love with cacti. He loves the architecture of them. And I mean, as those who have been with us for a period of time on this live video have seen, just the range of sizes and shapes, they're just incredible plants. It's really funny, I'm not sure why the audio isn't working. Is that laser light roof where the yellow was? Bronwyn, no, it's not laser light there, it is just greenhouse plastic. We use 200 plastic covers from Jeff Miller's. We buy that from in Melbourne. We can't wait to visit again. Great. Sorry, I misread that, Lana, and I thought that the audio had gone again. Lana, we can't wait to be fully open and showing people our amazing garden again. So thank you so much for letting us know. Thanks, Jason. I really appreciate that, and I'll pass the message on. You would love to hear that. Some big Euphorbia trees. That plant there is about 2.5 meters tall and about 3 meters wide. And you can just see how woody they get at the base. It was a beautiful day today. Tomorrow the weather's not going to be quite as good. Oh, that's what I was going to show you. Sorry, I got distracted before. So this is a Euphorbia resinifera, and this mound of Euphorbia is 1.5 meters tall and 2.5 to 3 meters wide. And there's actually, if you see this rock on the edge here, there's 2 more rocks that size. I'll just put my foot on it to give you an idea of how big that rock is. There's 2 rocks in here that the plant has grown around and continued to keep this almost symmetrical shape. Isn't that stunning? This is absolutely one of my favorite Euphorbias. It's gorgeous. Oh, the Oreo cacti, yes. So I've got a dog called Oreo, and we named him after our Oreo cereus, which is a hairy growing cactus. I'll show you in a minute, Carolina. Thanks for reminding me. I'll head back that way a little bit later. So the Euphorbia out here are probably around 30 years old, maybe just a little bit less. This is Euphorbia, oh God, remember the name, Coralescens. And so this plant here might only be maybe 15, 20 years old. It looks a little bit smaller than the others. Oh, Lena, thank you very much. Debbie, thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it. These are some of our Euphorbia hybrids that are really, really popular. A lot of people want to get their hands on this one, but as these are the only plants we have, we're not selling them yet, but they are just stunners. What is our biggest flowering agave stem? Well, I guess if we look over the back here, that's North America and Mexico next to where we are now in Africa. And the biggest ones, the Salmiana variety probably has the tallest flower stalks, and I'd say they can get up to 8 meters tall at the very most. I would say they wouldn't get much more than 8 meters if they reached it. Oh, thanks for tuning in from Israel. Kurdistan, wow. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate it. We had quite a lot of audio problems and video problems earlier, so we changed over to just going mobile. But I think the quality is a lot better now, so like, look at that view. Incredible. I think next we'll go for a wander down into South America, and we'll have a look at the Oreocereus. And if there's no more questions after that, I might sign out at that point. So probably about another 10 minutes maybe of live video left. So if you've got any questions, just drop questions in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. So these aloes are just starting to flower as well. Does anyone know what type of aloe this one is? I think it's arborescens or something like that. Jason's after trichos. Okay, great. If I get a chance, we'll go up the back again and I'll show you the trichos. They're definitely some of the most collected plants that I know of. We get a lot of Trichocereus collectors coming in here and drooling over our collection of trichos, so I'll try and make it back out there for you, Jace. Bronwyn, my favourite is probably the Pachycereus pringlei at the moment, just because of how big it is and with gorgeous big arms. After that, I would say the Trichocereus tschekii, just because once again of how big and bold they grow and the size of their spines and the colours that you get. I do love the pharaohs, so these are pharaoh cacti in front of me now. Some of the agaves, because of how symmetrical they are and the symmetry and the shape of them is gorgeous. For example, this agave Victoria Regina here. And then it probably goes from there into more specialty plants, where you just get gorgeous colours with variegates and crested types of cacti that are just really unique and one-off plants. So we're just getting towards the hairy cacti now, and here's Oreo, speak of the devil. What you up to, buddy? Come for a wander. Hi Marlene, we don't sell the fruit, but we do make cactus ice cream with the fruit. So you can get the cereus or the prickly pear fruit, and we make that into an ice cream, which is delicious. But if you're here and it's ripe and you want to try it, just ask one of the staff or myself if I'm around, and I'll go and pick you one and you can try it. So these are the Oreocereus here, and this is actually, now with the sun starting to set, we're going to get some different looks around. So this is Old Man of the Andes, really hairy cacti, grow at high altitudes in the Andes, and the hair protects them from the high UV light and also from extreme cold weather. And if these just got dew in the morning, the dew would collect on the hair and you could see it would run down to the base of the plant. And because cacti have such a shallow root system, they'd be able to collect that water. And so they could potentially survive for months with just dew. And here's Mum in the background. He's going all right. Mum, you're live with almost 400 people.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that incredible?
Incredible. Leanne wants to know how to do it so she can see.
Ah, nice. Tell her she'll have to jump on Facebook and go check it out.
Yeah.
And you can see Oreo's removing one of the skulls from the garden. Yeah, they're just at the back there. Alrighty guys, I think I'm going to call it a day. Thank you so much for everyone who tuned in and asked questions. Yeah, he is a beautiful dog, Carolina. Debbie says hi to Mum, I'll let her know. Alright, I gotta go and get the dog. Catch you later guys.